Whoa, what's going on, gang? Welcome back to Adventures with AK. So, doing something kind of different today. Well, it's the first open water bass fishing video of the year, so I'm real excited about that to kick things off. Early March 11th today, I believe. So, weather just decided to get warm. It's like in the 50s. Today it's right around 50, but we've had a few rainy days in mid 50s, low 60s, so the water slowly but surely warming up, and I think it's kind of spiked it up a little quicker. So I'm gonna give you guys a few bass fishing tips on early spring, right? I'm gonna go over definitely one bait today, if not two, that I really like to throw early spring, especially in this location. It's a Cory, real clear, a lot of shad in here, a lot of bass, and they're gonna get active here very soon. But bait number one, gonna be the old jerk bait, my favorite bait. I love throwing this bait, a lot of fun. It goes through all seasons. It's not just a spring bait, but I think it works the best in the spring. So keep that in mind through today. If I do end up doing really well on it, don't just think, oh, I can only use this in the spring, because it is a good year-round bait. But I'm gonna give you guys tips, tricks, whatever I can think of while I'm fishing. I'm not gonna do it all right now. So hopefully we get after it. Let's do it right now. All right, gang, here we are. Day one. Well, here anyways. Obviously I fish the spillways and whatnot, but I'm gonna go over this bait as much as I can with you today. And this would be, if I can get it here, the Rapala Shadow Wrap. That is my all-time favorite jerk bait. They make two different variations of it. You got the slow sinking and the slow rising. This is a slow rising. It's my favorite look. It's got that big hump on it because what this bait is mimicking is a bait fish floating belly up to the top, fighting for its life. Floating belly up to the top. You ever go to a fish store and see dead fish floating in their fish tank? They're usually belly up. So that's what it's mimicking, that hump on the back. You don't see that with normal ones. This bait came out like, I don't know, 5 years ago maybe. And I don't know, it hasn't taken off quite like I thought it would, but always a killer here in early spring. So let's go ahead and get after it. There's a nice fish. There we go. Oh yeah. Fish number one. Come here, Chunky. Tell you what, that's a dandy bass to start the year on. Pretty. Alrighty, gang, there you got it. Fish number one. Bass number one, that is, on the year. He pounded that jerkbait. Can't beat that. I mean, first time getting in this little cove. I started off on the main part of the lake. Didn't see anything, but I started getting in this cove. I saw bluegill shooting out from under the rocks on this bank, and he came right out of there. So awesome first fish of the year, first bass of the year. Fat, man, they are eating like crazy. See the inside of his mouth? I don't know if you can tell, but he's got, his tonsils are all red, so they've been chowing down on crawdads. So something to keep in mind. He definitely came up from the bottom to hit that bait, judging by how he was hooked. So we're gonna get him back in and get after some more. Woo! All right, let's get the big guy back in. Awesome first fish. Whoop! Oh, look at this bait. Shoot. I think that's going to wrap up the jerkbait portion of this video. We're going to go ahead and switch over to my other go-to springtime bait. Okay, so the jerkbait bite was okay. You know, it wasn't great. We got rain yesterday. We're still kind of in a cold front, so that bait even now might be a little bit too vulgar for them. It's a little quick. So we're gonna go finesse big time here. Rocking the Ned Rig, okay? So if you haven't used the Ned Rig, fantastic springtime bait. Works well most of the year too. I really like it in the spring because the weeds aren't quite as bad in the lakes I fish, and you can really get that bait down there without getting it caught up in the weeds. And the weeds here are so bad that it doesn't matter if you have a weedless bait, you're just getting caked with these hydrillas and moss and algae. So this time of year is perfect for this bait because the bottom's pretty bare. All right, it's a good time to hit this bait. Now the Ned Rig normally is just like a tube shaped bait, known as a turd bait, whatever. But Z-Man, this company right here, who I would definitely recommend on getting your Ned Rigs from, has kind of evolved this bait into a bunch of different things. They have maybe 5 or 6 different types of Ned Rig baits now. And I have a video from last September if you want to check it out. It's a couple new of their baits. They have a crawdad one and a hellgrammite bait, and I've kind of put them head to head and see what that, they do together in a river. And the hellgrammite bait was hands down the better bait. But you heard me mention on that bass that I caught that his tonsils were all red and scraped up, so that means they've been eating crawdads. So I've got the crawdad Ned Rig in a molting color. So right now they are kind of coming out of hibernation. I have seen a couple actually. When I came up to a couple spots, they kind of scurried back into the rock. So they are starting to get a little bit mobile, but the bass must be finding them. So that's what we're gonna do. Bounce this out the bottom, see if we can hook up with a few more. So what I'm gonna do is take the exact same path I came back on. So every spot I fished on the way here will be fished again, but with the Ned Rig. So I'm gonna start right here where you saw me take that last cast, work my way back, and here, let me show you. There's like 2 different coves here I'm working. There's this one, and then like, let's say you see, oh, where am I at? The flag. Right on the other side of that little island thing there's another part of the lake. You can kind of see it over that area. So go up this peninsula, hit a few spots, go back up that way, and back to my car, and that'll probably wrap it up. Hopefully we can maybe add 2 or 3 more to this little list I got of fish I caught today. So I'm sure you've noticed that I have been targeting primarily these rocky banks, and there's a reason behind that. Springtime especially is when I love to hit rocky banks, rocky points, rock piles. Anything rock related in the spring is prime, and that is because rocks hold their heat. So you got a rocky bank, you got rocks in the water, rocks out of the water. Rocks that are in or out of the water just suck in all the heat they can. That's why sunny days in the spring are my favorite, because them bass are really fired up along that rocky wall, and they just hit just about anything. All right, so today's a little different. Still in the middle of a cold front. Luckily there's not much wind and it's overcast, only about 45 degrees. So rocky is still the way to go, just because it's a little bit warmer. Even if it's just like a 1/4 degree warmer than the main part of the lake, they will be sitting there. They notice that little bit of change. So same concept here. We're gonna hit it with the Ned Rig, and we're gonna get right back after it. So let's do it. Okay, so here's my bait. Pretty simple. What's nice about the Z-Man line of Ned Rigs is they're made of this elastic material, and they really don't wear down, and they're super buoyant. So that means when it sits on the bottom, it doesn't sit like that. That bait sits straight up and down, including these arms are going to be wiggling around, really provoking those fish to bite. So hopefully that gets the job done here this time around. All right, so the best way you're going to fish one of these baits, I don't like casting it too far just because you start to lose sensitivity of what you're feeling. So for this case, I'm just going to get it under this dock. And it's kind of deep right here, so we'll let that guy sink down. And basically, if you've ever fished a Texas rig before, it's very similar. You just slow it way down, right? So I'll find my bait here, and you're pretty much just trying to make this wiggle across the bottom, right? You're not trying to pop it. I mean, you can do that in the summer. That might look a little bit better, but right now, those crawdads are not super active. They're just kind of waking up, getting out of their hole. And long pauses are good too. Them fish are going to look at it, so then when you do give it a little twitch, it's just going to fire them right up. So all we're going to do is just you're almost just going to want to try to vibrate that bait, all right? And if you feel it stuck on a rock, just slowly lift up, let it get over that rock, and just slide it back down. And we're going to let it sit for another second or two. That's really all it is. Bites feel real funny, especially early spring like this. They kind of just feel like a little tick or a little vibration on your line. Sometimes they'll run with it, but that's pretty seldom that happens. All right, so went back to the jerkbait. The Ned rig was just catching too many weeds on the bottom, and I couldn't even get a full cast in without reeling it back up with weeds. So I switched back to the jerkbait, but it's a little bit different. It's still a Rapala Shadow Wrap, but it's a slow sinking one. So it's a little longer, shorter lip, and this guy sinks when you, instead of suspending or floating, this guy sinks. So a little different, but that is the only bait that's produced to me today. So better go back at it for a little bit, and then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So we'll see what else this can do for me. Fish, fish. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. Fish 2 on the jerkbait. And as a bonus, we got a whole bunch of stuck belly geese. Woo! How about that for a fish, huh? Not bad. Safe to say he wanted that bait. Got about every goddamn hook in him. So this will be fun. Don't have my... Oh! Pig! Look how fat he is. Look at his gut. Good Lord. Cool. Fish number 2 on the day. Can't complain about the day. 45 degrees, slaying fish early March. Alrighty gang, that's gonna wrap it up for today. 2 fish, not bad, both on the jerkbait. So, one nice look at the guy there. Prevailed as it usually does in the spring for me. Ned rig I think would have worked, but too many dead weeds on the bottom from last summer. They died off in the winter, so couldn't even get that bait in and out of the water without pulling weeds up. So, you know, that happens. It's how it goes sometimes, but hopefully it was somewhat informational to you and you caught some of my tips and things I like to look for. It's kind of hard to remember to say the things while you're fishing, but any questions or suggestions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys and answer questions if you do have any. But plenty of stuff coming up for you guys to watch. Weather's getting nice. Got a trip to Florida coming up in about a month. Gonna be some wild stuff going on there. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe. Hit me up on the Instagrams. Find me on Facebook. And you know what? We'll see ya next time.